Maybe even a gold. That's what we're going to put it against, Boria, that we're going to say go for gold. But, you're right. I spoke to producers this morning and I was asking them, what are the matches today? What can we expect? Many of them said that, look, the women's hockey team making it to the quarterfinal itself is a big deal. They're up against Australia. Can we really expect them to go into the semi-final? Not really, because everyone spoke about what a great team Australia is. But we've done it. And what makes it doubly delightful, Boria, is that our men's hockey team is in the semi-final. The women's hockey team is also in the semi-final.
Precisely, and the first time women's hockey was introduced in the Olympics, Akshita, let me tell you, the original Chakde girls, I've written multiple chapters in my book, was in 1980 Moscow. They were one game short from winning a medal. Only time they came close. After that, obviously, they qualified only again in Rio in 2016. And the Rio campaign was a disaster. They lost every possible game. Then in the qualifiers for Tokyo, they beat the Americans. They were up 5-0. The Americans made it 5-5. Eventually, we won 6-5. And then here comes Tokyo. The first 3 matches, they were horrible. The second match was good against Germany. They lost 2-0, but they were okay. But in the first match and the third match, they were poor. Each one of us were going for them. That's when the turnaround happened. You dug deep, you showed character, you showed commitment. The moment you start doing that, they beat Ireland 1-0, then they took out South Africa 4-3, and here comes the biggest ever result in the history of Indian women's hockey. You've knocked Australia out in an Olympic quarter-final. Come on, for me, this is as good as any medal India has ever won in any Olympic Games. And I'm being very, very pragmatic and very, very objective here. As I'm saying, I can't believe this result. I have followed Indian sport madly for the last 25 years. This is one of the greatest results in the history of Indian sport.
This team, Boria, the fact that they've beaten Australia, they've shown their mettle. Do you think this team, you're saying you're very pragmatic, so that's why I'm asking this question to you. Do they have a chance to get gold?
Tough. Having said that, if you can beat Australia, you can beat anyone. And think of the morale.
Yeah.
Think of the morale. Now they'll believe they'll be able to take anyone out. And that's what it is. Because obviously they had Netherlands in their group. And they are the #1 team. Okay, so they will avoid Netherlands. They will avoid Netherlands in the semis. They've taken Australia out. So they will face the relatively weaker team from the other group. So there is a big chance that they will be able to get that match if they play like this. So if you ask me, can they? There's a 15%, 10% chance of going through. But that, I've told you this how many times, Tokyo is the Olympic of the underdog. The underdog rules, Nari Shakti rules, women's empowerment rules. So why not the Chakde girls also rule Tokyo?
And that's exactly it. We've been talking about Nari Shakti almost every single day since you've been in Tokyo, Boria. And every day we have more reason to talk about it. Now because of the women's hockey team, Mirabai Chanu, PV Sindhu, Kamal Preet, you've got so many, Lavlina, so many of them doing us proud.
Let's be clear. The women have beaten the men 10-0 in Tokyo. 10-0. The Indian contingent. And let's accept it and celebrate. Indian sport at the Olympic level is about our women. We should stand tall and salute each of the performers who have done us proud in Tokyo. You named them, Chanu and Lavlina and Sindhu and Kamal Preet and the hockey girls. But Sindhu was a favorite to win. Chanu was a favorite to win. Lavlina an outside chance to win. Kamal Preet has made the final. I will say this hockey result, beating Australia in an Olympic quarter-final, is perhaps the greatest ever result in Indian women's hockey history. It is that big a result. So give these girls every possible accolade that can come their way. And now we need to back them for the semi-finals. Because as I said to you, Netherlands is the #1 team. They've taken Australia out. They will now believe that whoever comes their way, every game is a knockout. We know that. They have 2 cracks at a medal, and they will start to believe that yes, we can.
Perhaps even a fighting chance against Netherlands. They've done it against Australia. Can they do it against Netherlands? This team, if any, can actually. The way they held their cool, their nerve through their entire game against Australia, there was just one goal, Boria. And despite that, they ensured that all through, they kept the Australians at bay. They didn't give them any chance to ensure that they could, even equalize it. And that by itself is such a remarkable feat. This is no doubt one of the big highlights for us, one of the biggest highlights for us from this Olympics. At this point, everyone's going to be talking about the semi-finals also for the women's hockey team. But is this the best performance that we've ever seen so far by our women in the Olympics, the women's hockey?
200% yes. Even if they lose the next match by 10 goals, this is the best ever performance by an Indian women's hockey team at Olympic level by 200%, not 100. Okay, so let's be clear. 1980, they came close. They were one match away from a medal, but that was a boycott Olympics. We remember that. 2016, I told you they lost everything. They got the wooden spoon. This time round, the first 3 games they lost. To beat Australia in the quarterfinal, even if they lose the semi-final and lose the bronze medal playoff. And I'm saying that, even if they lose both, this is the greatest ever performance by an Indian women's hockey team at Olympic level. If anyone told me that this team will make the semi-finals, me, the eternal optimist, would have said, come on, let's hold our horses. Honestly, this is unbelievable. This is beyond expectations, and that's what gives you a huge high when you are covering the Olympic Games for a country that is starved of champions. Each of these girls today are real champions. So Rani, Savita, each one of you have done the country proud.